Hey, what's going on, family? It's your boy Antonio, the Soldierpreneur. So this week has been an interesting week. This is my reflection video for this week, and man, a lot of things happen in the classroom, outside the classroom, home. A lot of growth and development, and of course, learning more. If you're not learning more, then you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not consistently learning, and that's what transformational leaders do. We are finding those opportunities and those ways that we can learn from different situations. We're paying attention to what's going on, and so that we can make sense of it all. Of course, we pray about it, and then we take action when we're supposed to. Right. So, with all that said, this week has been in the course testing in my classroom. So a lot of our schedules have been out of whack. We've been planning for the Cadet Ball for months and months now, and it's coming to a head. Like yesterday, we just had our Cadet Ball, so on Friday, the last day of the week. So throughout the week, we've been making sure we got all the supplies, we got everything ready, and we have the people, all our cadets are ready, right? And of course, and we're preparing for testing. We're finishing up our semester. So I'm focusing on content for Winning Colors. If you don't know what Winning Colors are, it's an assessment that helps identify behaviors of strengths, behavior strengths within all of our, within everybody, within kids, within myself, within all types of, within everybody. So these are different clusters that have different power words focused on each particular winning color. There's 4 different winning colors. There's blue, there's red, there's green, and then there's brown. So we've been focusing on that and getting these kids to do their presentations. Man, has it been difficult to get them to do their presentations? But hey, it is what it is for real. Uh, I'm learning more and more as I'm growing as a teacher in this space, which is the space that I love to be in. It is about character development, and so and leadership development. So leadership education training, level 1 is what I teach. So all the new kids that come to JROTC, they come to meet up with myself, and we have other key leaders that teach other levels of JROTC in my school. So there was a moment in school, in classroom, I'll point out, outside of the great presentations that I did have, there was there was a guy that was sitting next to me, and he told his peers. He said something like, he was talking about his future. He said, "Well, if I'm there to see it, if I'm alive when it happens, if I'm alive, it'll happen." And I said, "Wow, I got to talk about this guy." So I said, I challenged him. So I'm gonna challenge everybody. If I have a reason to do so, and that was a big reason. I don't want you thinking about you dying and not achieving what you want to achieve in life. True enough, we will all die, and but the stinking thinking can bring that along a lot faster, right? The more you focus on death uh, and you dying, not just death in particular, but you dying, then you cause some things to happen, and you have a certain attitude about life because of your thinking. So I said that's exactly what that snake did in the Garden of Eden. You remember the Garden of Eden, right? He said yes. I said, "Do you go to church?" He said, "Yeah, I go to church." And I said, "Well, do you know that we had pure thoughts before that snake, the devil, came in and asked Eve and said, 'God didn't say that you weren't to eat, that you couldn't eat from any tree.'" He said it with a question mark, which planted a seed in her mind, and she started to look at everything that was lack. She started to look like she caved out everything. She tuned out everything and focused on that one tree. So don't focus on the negative stuff, because that's what she focused on, was the thing that she couldn't have. So why would you want to focus on the thing that you really can't control? It's gonna bring you down the a long narrow road, and I don't want you going down that road. He mentioned, I mentioned a couple other things. He said, "Are you gonna be a preacher?" And oh, course, I said, man, I don't know, man. Whatever happens, it's supposed to happen. I don't know, but I'm okay with it. And that's how I want you to feel about life in general. You should be okay, or at least accept your lot in life when it happens. Accept where you are, and know that hey, things can change. Know that things can change if you have faith. That is right. So there's what else happened during the week on Friday. Like I said yesterday, we had our cadet ball, and we have had a great presenter, a retired colonel. He was in Huntsville, Alabama. He drove all the way from Huntsville, Alabama to mix and mingle with our cadets and gave a great word. He had 3 pillars that he wanted the kids to focus on in order to become great leaders, our future leaders, right? First, we got to have a desire to make things to change, desire to level up. You have to have that burning desire deep inside you. Even Napoleon Hill mentioned that as well in his book Think and Grow Rich. You must have a burning desire to achieve these things that you see or that you want to do, and or to change specifically. And then you got to have dedication. The dedication that it takes to achieve things. It takes a lot of groundwork. It takes a lot of understanding, a lot of studying of the word to have the dedication to see things through. That gives you enough push to identify what it is that the desire gives you the push to develop the dedication. And then he mentioned having discipline. Discipline is keeping it going, right? Keeping that engine pushing forward. Even when things fall down the wayside, you have to keep that engine going. And if you don't have the discipline to if you don't have the discipline for your disappointments, you will lack in your growth, right? He mentioned, I got his notes. He said, "What is it that you want?" Because it is your desire that has to be fueled by with the dedication to stick with it and a discipline to drive on. We got to develop those things within ourselves. And if we're not developing those things within ourselves, how are we winning every day in life? And I finished out my night, although it was a late night, watching the movie Respect about Aretha Franklin story. And it was played by Jennifer Hudson. And there's a few other characters in there that you would know. But I want to focus on her journey and how it came back at the end of the movie full circle. Now, I know from history standpoint and from a godly standpoint, when so many people in the music industry, in the hip hop or not even just hip hop, in the R&B industry, they mostly started out singing gospel, singing in the church. Most of them did. Aretha was one of those people. Sam Cooke was one of those people. Um, Ray Charles was one of those people. James Brown was one of those people. All these people turned their backs on the church. They found that they could get more money or more prestige or be known, and that pride set in. Now, with her, that pride was set in young by her father. Her father was a strong slash abusive man that fought, beat on her mom. She didn't know about it. At least she felt like she forgot it, and but she knew her mom. Her mom taught her how to play the piano, evidently, but she would sing every Saturday night. Now her dad was a preacher of a church. This is so interesting. The preacher of the church always had parties every Saturday night at his house and would wake her up in the middle of the night to sing for everybody there. It started out with her waking up in the middle of the night and her walking downstairs, seeing, this is a visual now, seeing 2 guys hugging on each other. Well, at least they're holding on to each other and they're grabbing each other by the by the butt. They grab down. They sweep right past that. That was so interesting. And she walks through. She sees everybody drinking and dancing, and guy playing the piano is guy that plays the piano in church. And she found favor in him. Right? He was a constant a source of godliness. But in the party, he was playing. They was playing whatever music. You know, they were playing secular music in the church, in the house, and the next day they go up and preach while he's drinking and smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, slapping his wife around, and then slapping his kids around. And it's so interesting, but there's a lot. It gets deeper, but she's a singer and she's showing up in church, and then she's growing up, she's developing. She's a singer, but she is so. Oh, before I mention this is what changed her. All those people that were in her house, one of those guys came in, but she was what, maybe 10, 11 years old or something like that, and got her pregnant twice at the same house where everybody else lived. So they all knew it. But she at that moment did not want to talk for I don't know, for days, for weeks, I don't know, for a long time. She didn't want to talk. And guess who else had that problem? Maya Angelou. She had that same problem. She was raped as a kid as well, and she stopped talking and she just focused on poetry. Now this is what happened with her, with Aretha Franklin. She was raped, man. She was pregnant, pregnant little girl. But anyhow, she grew up hurt, distraught, broken, but she could sing. And they used her. Well, she used her voice in a lot of places, but and she was an alcoholic. She turned out to be an alcoholic as well, trying to mask all the pain. There was a lot else. She was getting beaten up by her. I don't. Did she get married to the guy? But she got pregnant by another guy. Supposed to be her manager, and well, she got pregnant by her manager, and then she went after she left him because she was abusive, and once she figured out like I'm understanding like this is not me, and then she turned to alcoholic after she met another guy, but it wasn't because of him, it was because of her demons that she never fought, that she never dealt with, and so she ended up doing a gospel album, went back to the church, and it finished singing Amazing Grace, and boy was that powerful because Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. He saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. And I see the errors of my ways. When I wrote my book, When You Know Better, You Do Better, it was a lot of selfishness in there. It was a lot of growth and development on a personal standpoint. I thought it was spiritual, but it wasn't as spiritual as I hoped it to be because I knew I was missing God. And I learned so much in my growth and development throughout this phase and how I'm applying it, how I'm rebranding Success Atlanta, developing it, developing more kingdom at business aspect of it. That's that kingdom mindset that you must have in order to develop, because the word is a living word, and we must always be in our word. And I'm learning more as Aretha learned that you must come back home. You must pay attention to what God has put in your heart and allow Him to guide you. Because I tell you what, if it wasn't for those moments for her, she wouldn't have been singing for the president, even though we know who she sang for and what his thing was. But I understand more now about what my mission is and what my be no do and adapt frameworks are all about. Is rarely leadership in the biblical sense is rarely about power. It's about stewardship, character, and service. And in my program in JROTC, it is about character development and it's about service as well. I'm in a space where I know that I'm supposed to be at, and I'm developing myself to become a better leader to make it work for everybody in the community at large. With all that said, we'll talk again next week. My name is Antonio the Soldierpreneur, and Be awesome. Peace.